Come on then, ladder. Come on. Different view today, guys. How do? Cheeky little vlog. I was hoping, apologies first, hoping to put LJ's interview up today. She's not very well at the minute. Hopefully we'll look up and we'll have it for next weekend. I have got an interview to put up for Wednesday. I carry on vlogging as and when things come to me. This just popped into my head, so I thought I'd do a cheeky little vlog. Come on, Stevie. We get his ball out, guys. Here. Religion. Rights and privileges in prison. There are some rights, religion being one of them. Everyone has a right to religion. Everyone has a right to food, a bed, to be kept safe, believe it or believe it not. Then you've got privileges. Gym would be a privilege. It's not a God-given, excuse the pun. It's a privilege, I'm sure you can see that. So let's talk about religion. First of all, I will say at Forest Bank, again, excuse the pun, the chaplains and that were a godsend. When you're on a wing at Forest Bank, we'll do some more vlogs about this and try and explain a little bit better just what it's like doing the job of a prison officer when there's no staff around. They were really good. They were a useful tool at Forest Bank, as later at Strangeways on the healthcare, I would also come to appreciate them. You imagine you're on a wing. Well, you can't. If you've never done the job, you're not going to imagine it. I don't even know why I've said that. I've got some lads I used to work with in the private sector. We'll talk about it. We'll have some chats, a couple of cheeky chaps. Both had some, you know, pretty awful experiences. So there you go. Yeah, they were a useful tool, chaplains say. Imagine you're on a wing, someone's loved one has died on the outside, or someone's close relative, mother, sister, sibling, whatever, is unwell. He used to use the chaplains to keep in contact. They were really good, you know. If you introduced a prisoner, maybe his mum was ill, in hospital, cancer, something like that, chaplains would get in touch. They'd get in touch with the hospital, explain who they were, and they would give feedback, which I've always said, being in prison, no control, losing a close relative or something must be shocking. You know, people will say, don't put yourself in prison. Get your ball, kid. Come on. Don't put yourself in prison again. Lots of people in prison are in for things that, you know, there's alternatives for. What it actually costs to lock someone up and keep them in custody, we could be doing something worthwhile. And every time we send someone, they don't learn the lesson, they don't learn anything, they don't come out with any sense and purpose, they go back to crime. That's more victims. Victims, victims, victims. Anyway, back to religion. So yeah, they were really good. Strangeways, when I was on K-Wing, there were one or two people, and they cover every religion. You know, you've obviously got your Church of England, Catholics, Muslim, and everything else in between. We even had some new wave type religions. I will talk about them a little bit. On K-Wing, they were seen as Jobsworth. I'm sure a lot of prison officers see them as Jobsworth because, you know, they come on, they treat everyone the same, they don't discriminate, they try and do the best for everyone. A lot of people don't like that. But yeah, really, really useful tool. Some of them, obviously, a bit eccentric. I met a few who were until I got to know him really well on the healthcare, really difficult to deal with. So, Captain Birdseye, he was in charge of the church. I talked about him briefly in my book. He's retired, as it were. He's off to finer things. He sort of headed the ship, and the chaplains used to work shifts. They would cover phone calls. I've said this before to lots of people. If you're struggling, if you've got a loved one inside who's perhaps not well, gone to hospital, whatever, contact the chaplain and say, safer custody, yes. But those departments aren't always manned, and staff are taken out of those departments to do other jobs because staffing is so short. Get in touch with the chaplaincy. At the very least, you'll probably get a courtesy call coming back to you, explaining something or giving you what information they can. So, service. Obviously, I had Sunday service. We had a few of them. VPs, vulnerable prisoners, sex offenders, would have a different service to the normal population. So there'd be 2 Catholic services, 2 Church of England services and the like. Obviously, Muslim prayers were on Friday. And again, you got everything else in between. There was one lad, Frank, good lad. If you see this Frank and you're not inside, all the best. If you see this Frank and you're inside, all the best. He's a good lad. He's helped me with my second book, which is coming together nicely. Frank was always a Mormon when he came into prison. Why was he a Mormon? Mormons, I believe, I don't research these things, but they're not allowed to take stimulants and the like, so caffeine. So a Mormon in prison couldn't have coffee or tea. Prisoners used to get a brew pack every week, which had some sugars in it and some, loosely speaking, tea bags. It's got to be the worst tea I've ever tasted, but there you go. You know, you're not going to get Yorkshire's finest, are you? So Frank, because it's a right religion, had declared himself a Mormon, and every Sunday he would get 6 or 7 ounces of hot chocolate from the kitchen as a replacement for the brew pack, which obviously stimulants, caffeine and the like. I was told by somebody that they were tightening up, or the prison service were tightening up, or the chaplains were tightening up on religion. That's a no-brainer, that. Everyone's entitled to religion. I remember the imam at Strangeways took 3 lads who, shall we say, weren't being good Muslims during Ramadan. They were involved in a fight where somebody got beat up. They were eating during the day, smoking, swearing, the whole 9 yards. The imam took them off Ramadan. One of them challenged it, went to the High Court and got a lot of compensation. I mentioned this before. After that, the imam gave in. I knew the imam really well. He was from Sheffield. Once he found out we had a connection, he was always wary of me. We got on well, but I knew him. I knew the mosque he was from in Sheffield, and I knew lots of people who knew him as well. But overall, he was a good guy, tried to do his best. But like I say, you can only do so much. So yeah, Mormon. Just wait till the train's gone, guys. We had a nun, Strangeways, got to know really well. She was a lovely lass, getting on, being a nun all her life. Again, you know, someone who cared for people. On the healthcare, we had some incredibly unwell people. Don't you take your ball in there and leave it, laddo. Yeah, I'm watching you. Incredibly unwell. She would do what she could for people. She came on, had a service every Sunday. She was Catholic, obviously. Funnily enough, well, it's not funny at all. It's sad. We had 2 lads during my time on the healthcare at different periods of time who had Huntington's chorea, I believe it's called. You can become disinhibited. You don't know right from wrong. brain fog. Eventually, it does kill people, it kills them early. These guys were both really young. I believe it normally 30 to 40 years old. They were both in the 20s. And they were both in prison because they got this terrible disease as well, because it makes you violent or whatever, and disinhibited for whatever they'd done or were alleged to doing or whatever. They were put in prison. So imagine that. Imagine getting something like that, a disease that, you know, you get put in prison because you got this disease and it has side effects, and I don't know, just terrible. Anyway, both these lads at separate times were in the Catholic service. You know, I'm not a Catholic myself, don't want to disrespect anyone. Obviously, they don't have wine in prison, but they have the old cracker or whatever it is, Lamb of God, you know. She would give that to someone. Both these lads kicked off. Again, part of their MO was being angry and the like, but she stood her ground. She stood her ground. She was a tough old bird, and she would argue, but at the end of the day, she did care for everyone. She did things that people would knock. At Christmas, she came to me. She always came to me. She liked me. I'll tell you some of the things I did. And anyone out there who's Catholic, you have to appreciate I had a good working relationship with this lass. She was lovely. But at Christmas and a couple other times, she came to me. Always called me Samworth. Told her to call me Sam. Christmas, she bought bars of chocolate in. She bought it out of her own money for the lads on healthcare. She gave them all a bar of chocolate. She asked me whether she could give them that. That is an unauthorised item. However, you know, if you've got any humanity, and believe me, other than the orderlies, most of the people who were on healthcare were unwell in some way. Most of them mentally unwell, mental health, mental illness, or there were some that were physically unwell. So yeah, she was, you know, she was lovely. I saw all the chaplains do good deeds. The imams too. The imams, we had a senior imam and 3 youngsters. One of the youngsters, he was always coming to me with problems. There's a lad on K-Wing who was beat up and sexually assaulted in reception. I need you to report it. I would tell him that, you know, that wasn't my place. If it had been reported to him, then he should go back to the lad and get him to report it, and he should also report it. He spent more time with certain prisoners than other prisoners based on their religion, which is wrong. All the others were really good. One of the young ones, bless him, fantastic. You know, he didn't take everything everyone said. He got a good amount of common sense, and, you know, he was a good lad. Tried to do his best. So, there you go. The thing that always crops up, the question I've been asked a lot about, is obviously the Muslim gangs in prison. Dispersal prisons long term that I've not worked in. Hopefully I'm going to be interviewing people who have. You know, it's a whole new ball game when you get to them. And here's the thing, guys. We have had terrorists at Strangeways. We had one lad on healthcare who was quite high profile, really high profile in fact. And we've had people on normal location. Everyone thinks that people who are in for terrorism are kept in special conditions. We had a lad on C-Wing. He hated everybody. He hated all staff. You know, but they're not isolated. In dispersal prisons, it is problematic whether the prison service will admit that. I don't know what exactly they would do about it. But imagine what a network that would be, because a lot of people going into... Imagine a gang member, someone who had authority, you know, going into prison, becoming a Muslim. What a network you would have to carry out criminality. Yeah, it's a big thing. We did have some new waivers. We had a lad who declared himself as a Jedi. I don't know whether it said that on the computer. And like I say, we had a lass who come in again, really lovely. Only saw a couple of times. I would describe her as a tree hugger. And that's not knocking her, you know, a real sort of love and peace type woman. I can't remember what the religion were. It was like a new age religion. We also had somebody who came in who was to do with Wiccan, you know. Yeah, everything and everybody. The vast majority of them were really good people who tried hard, do the best for people, and a lot of them, you know, got knocked for that. Me, I saw them differently. Not all my prison career, you know, there were one or two who were just a bit too on top. However, on the whole, great set of people. Captain Birdseye, he's become a painter, you know, enjoying life, and so he should. And I believe Sister Mary's still knocking about somewhere. One of my good friends, little Irish nurse, sees her, and she always talks about me, and why wouldn't she? So Sister Mary, when she used to come on, yeah, I'd get into the office just before her and say something to the effect of, no fucking swearing, Sister Mary's here. And then she'd come in the office, she would hear what I'd said, she'd be like, oh, Mr. Samworth. And my manager, KK, used to say, you go straight to hell, Mr. Samworth. And Sister Mary said, nah, there's a place in him for heaven. So there you go, guys, I've got one card in my top pocket. So that's a little bit about religion. If you want to know any more about religion in prison, specific stuff, radicalization and the like, I'm not an expert, I have stories. In the comments, get them questions going. Okay, guys. Thanks for continued support, comments. Got some question and answers coming. That's people asking me questions. People I've met. Carl, he's going to do one with me. Kira, she's going to do one with me. Hopefully Kira will be telling her story soon. LJ, if you see this, as soon as you're better, let me know. We'll get your story out there. All right, guys. Parting shot as always. Hope you've had a decent weekend. Stephen, is it tea time? Good lad. Bless him. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you.